It's hard to believe, but this is what life looks like for people in Great Russia. The city of Chita, with a population of 350,000 people. Is it possible in the 21st century, in a country rich in gas, oil, gold, and diamonds, to live in such conditions? You know, Putin once laughed at Europeans, saying that they would have to heat their homes with firewood. But here in Great Russia, these slums are exactly heated with firewood. Let's listen together to Putin's ironic statement.
I don't understand at all what you will be using to heat your homes. You don't want to use gas, and you're not developing nuclear energy. Are you going to use firewood?
Yes, people in Russia use firewood for heating, and also notice that these people have no running water. They have to get it from the street using a manual faucet and mechanical water supply, and they have to carry buckets home for drinking and washing. Of course, they don't have washing machines, and the toilet is also a wooden shack outside made of old planks. The fact that this is not an abandoned house is evidenced by the presence of a plastic window and an antenna. It's clear that this is a residential building. One of the residents of this house says that the authorities don't want to demolish it because they would have to build a new one, and it is still livable. This is how Russia burns the gas they couldn't sell to Europeans, while the residents of this house heat their homes with firewood. The apartment inside looks terrible and gloomy. Activists came to the neighbor's house to help solve the housing problem, and her signature was needed, but she expressed dissatisfaction and closed the door. As we know, the Russian people are submissive and don't want to quarrel with the authorities. The woman refused rudely and said that everything was fine for her. And the neighboring village awaits us, and you will probably be surprised at how people live there. Pay attention to the fact that the main road leading to the village is not paved with asphalt, but rather from sand. Why do people need asphalt when most of them don't have cars? Mostly people travel by bus or some on motorcycles. I used to have one, but it consumed about 10 liters of fuel, which was terribly expensive. But it's amazing that people still ride on these even though Russia, as you may know, produces wonderful cars and Putin himself checks their quality. Now I want to show you this video. Putin is trying to open a door, but he can't. He thinks the door is locked from the inside, and one of his aides comes to help him and breaks the handle trying to open the door. By the way, this car is called the Patriot, and the joke is that only true patriots will ride on such a car. Here, Putin is in the role of a tester for another new car. Apparently advertising cars is so ineffective that they have to involve the president. Judging by his gait and glasses, he feels like Agent 007, but apparently he overestimated his abilities and decided to open the trunk. This is not surprising, as his motorcade consists mostly of Mercedes cars. They brought him the keys to the trunk, but even that doesn't help. It's worth remembering that the car was created for resourceful and enterprising people. Putin doesn't give up, and finally, the long-awaited moment comes. The trunk opens. Inspired by his success, he decides to drive this car. I think the hardest part is already behind us. This is a bold decision considering that this car ranks last in safety ratings. In advance, I will say that we will not be able to enjoy a test drive with you. The car simply wouldn't start. And we're returning to a more interesting story about what a hospital looks like in rural Russia. Local residents talk about how people can't see a doctor because the hospital is always closed, and appointments are very rare when medical workers decide to come to this village. To see a doctor, you have to go to the city, and there is hardly any transportation available to people. The attention is drawn to the unusual design of the door, which obviously values natural materials in construction. Perhaps they have already stopped using plastic because of its harmful effects on health and have switched to materials such as wood, clay, straw, and sand instead of asphalt. That's why they believe they have the right to teach the whole world how to live. And this is the local school. It is fenced off with wire. This testifies to the openness and hospitality of Russians. And again, a wooden door that confirms my theory about traditional materials. It is simply painted and its life extended indefinitely. Let's see what the backyard looks like. The first thing that catches the eye is the tires from cars painted in different colors. The policy of secondary use of materials confirms the course towards the development of green, advanced technologies. Money needs to be saved. This country needs rockets. In general, the Russian school instills important qualities in children such as unpretentiousness and patience. The presence of outdoor toilets plays an important role in this. At first glance, it may seem that the government simply doesn't care about its citizens, but let's remember history. Ancient Spartans were also kept in harsh conditions and thus raised merciless warriors. This is the local club, in other words, the House of Culture. Culture in Russia is given special attention. Smiling and being friendly are not accepted in their culture, which, by the way, is the topic of my next video. Americans are often criticized for their hypocritical smiles. It's amazing that this phone booth still works. Time has stopped here. Seriously though, if people want to live in this shithole, let them live, we won't judge them for it. Why impose our Russian world on others?
My friends, this is my first video on this channel. Despite the bleak picture, I hope it made you smile. I would be happy to read your comments. I want to sincerely express my gratitude to everyone who supports Ukraine in the fight against the aggressor and wish you peace and goodness. See you next time.